to another edition of North Dakota Hockey Central, your television home for all things UND hockey. I'm Alex Heinert. Coming up, you'll hear from head coach Brad Berry and freshman defenseman Ethan Frisch. Plus, we'll look ahead to this weekend's series against Miami and the start of NCHC play. First, though, we're rolling out the latest installment of UND Hockey's web series, Through These Doors. This week, the focus turns to longtime strength and conditioning genius Mark Pullman and how he gets this team ready for game day.
The start of conference play is approaching for UND, and with that comes taking care of the body. Mark Pullman is in charge of rehabilitation as the program's athletic trainer and strength conditioning coach, and he recognizes the importance of player input when crafting those plans.
They all have an idea of their specific warm-up, whether it's stretching or smashing the muscle, I guess. They all have the individual things to work on. And then from there, the workout is, like I said, most of them do this very similar, but between the limitations that they have and then the injuries, we would always kind of change how they might lift, trying to use the same muscles, but in a way that doesn't bother whether they have a wrist injury, knee injury, back injury.
The methodical mind of Pullman come to fruition during morning workouts.
You know, it's early, so guys are just kind of, waking up and just getting here. They've only been up for an hour, but, we kind of ease into it with the warm-up before the workout, so, it gets the heart rate up, and then going into the workouts, Mark puts together, smart workouts, something that kind of more for prevention of injury than building a whole bunch of muscle.
Recovery is about maintaining consistency with movements.
It's all biomechanics. Whether we're lifting heavy or if we're just warming up or if they're doing different techniques in there, it's all mechanics. It's the same movement whether they're doing it in the physical therapy area or if they're lifting heavy weights. It's the same type of mechanics. So breaking that down and to see what area they need to work on or what area we need to protect.
I think he's probably one of the biggest parts of the team. I think, whether it's just little things like getting taped up or coming in for treatment, he's probably the best at what he does in the country. So we're really fortunate to have him, and I know for myself he's a big part of my game and being ready to play on the weekend, getting your body right. So he's a big part of our team, and I think he always will.
Despite the early hours and energy expended, the players use time in the weight room to bond and crack jokes.
Obviously, now that we're practicing in the mornings, it's a little tougher to get pumped up for an 8 a.m. workout. But I think that's a way that the guys kind of get into it, is like to keep it light, joke around, that sort of thing. But I think once we're in there and the workout started, everyone knows what we got to do, and it's all business. So.
We have music that people are always arguing over what genre to play or what country, and a lot of guys don't like country, but we just try to keep it light in there and have fun and get through what we're doing.
It's fun to be being around 18 to 20-year-old guys. Being an old man myself, it's fun to be in there, to be in the athletic training room with them and getting to know what's going on in their life, getting to know what makes them tick. That's probably the most enjoyable thing.
Mark, he's always stirring the pot in there and just kind of getting guys going, but just having that kind of family atmosphere in there and keeping it light and having fun.
He's kind of laid back. He can be serious when he needs to be. He's definitely a player's trainer, if that's a thing. He's great with the guys. He likes to joke around, likes to have fun, but at the same time, he knows what we need to do, and then also working on your, what you need to work on. just little things like your strength or your speed, whatever it may be. He's always there and he knows exactly what you need.
Mark Pullman, what a legend. Big thanks to Cassie Niles and the entire Through These Doors team. Coming your way next here on North Dakota Hockey Central, Brad Berry joins the show to break down this past weekend's U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game and to preview the conference opener against Miami. Keep it right here. Welcome back to North Dakota Hockey Central. Let's go now to Ralph Engelstad Arena, where we're joined by UND head coach Brad Berry. Brad, as always, thanks for the time today.
Thanks, Alex.
Let's rewind to this past weekend when you hosted Michigan Tech on Saturday in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game. How does the team's approach change when there's only one game on the schedule instead of two?
Yeah, you know what, I think you refine your focus knowing that you're just playing the one game, and it prolongs your week a little bit as far as having an extra day of practice. So you have to have a balance of getting the things you need to get done in practice, and but not overdoing things mentally and physically to play one game. You got to make sure you try to get your focus of just playing one, and now we get to two games, and had a really good week of practice so far here, and now we're ready for Miami.
Yeah, we'll get to that series against the Redhawks here in a sec. The Hall of Fame game is an exempt game, meaning it doesn't count towards the NCAA limit of 34 regular season contests per year. UND has been aggressive in pursuing these extra games over the last 2 decades. Why are they so important to your program?
I think they're important for a number of reasons. First of all, it gives you another opportunity to play a game. In college hockey, you're limited to 24 league games, and in our conference, 10 non-conference games. So a total of 34. This gives you a chance to play an extra game, and it's important, vitally important for pairwise rankings, trying to get another way to prove yourself or get a body of work to try to get into the NCAA tournament with pairwise rankings. And I guess finally would be probably the student athlete experience. When we play these Hall of Fame games, this one was at home this year. Next year, obviously, we'll be in Nashville, and the year before, we were in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I think given the student athlete experience is another reason.
You mentioned it a moment ago, you're scheduled to play in the Hall of Fame game next year and in 2022 as well. More exempt games on the way in the near future. And by the way, anything else besides what you just told us, but anything else you want to tell us about the location of the next year's Hall of Fame game, Brad?
Yeah, well, there'll be probably a press release coming out here shortly, but I think it's not a mystery to a lot of people here that we're planning on playing in a neutral site venue in Nashville, and that'll be coming out here a little bit later. But again, like I said, our guys absolutely love going there, and I know our fan base absolutely loves it too, and traveling to those destinations.
Yeah, we'll look forward to more official details on that in the weeks ahead. Let's talk now about this year's edition of the Hall of Fame game, a 3-1 win for your team over Michigan Tech. You liked how your team played in the final 40 minutes, but you didn't have the start you were looking for against the Huskies.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny as a coach when you have an initial analysis of your game. You kind of get a feeling on how you played, and we were a little bit hard on our first period. And after going through video a couple of times and watching it, we weren't that as bad as we thought we were in the first period, meaning that we weren't sharp in our end of the rink in a couple of occasions, giving them opportunity. We're a team that really takes pride in not giving the other team very much, and we were a little bit loose in that regard. I thought overall, after watching the video, we were a little bit better than we thought, but we were way better in the second period. That gave us momentum in the third period. So I guess to answer your question is, we could have been a little bit better, but we got to make sure we start Friday in the first period here.
Well, you made the right adjustments this past Saturday after the first and would take control with Jordan Kawaguchi eventually scoring the game winner to break a 1-1 tie midway through the third. It's the second weekend in a row that you found a way to pull out a close game, something that you struggled with last year. What's been the difference in that area with this year's group?
I think just a couple things, probably learning from last year a little bit as far as those tight games and how to close games out, but also having having a little bit more swagger in our group this year of believing that you can finish games and finding ways of being relentless to close games out or to get a lead and close games out. So I think the mental side of it's a little bit different this year on a positive note.
Jordan had a clutch goal against Bemidji State last week as well. It feels like you found something with him, Colin Adams, and Grant Mismash paired up on your top line.
Yeah, again, those guys are all players that have been in our program for at least a couple of years here, so they absolutely know from the experience standpoint of how we do things and how hard our league is and how to get things done. So, those guys have grown together over the last couple of years, and, they're all good, skilled players that play hard with and without the puck, and it's nice to have some chemistry with those guys. Now the challenge becomes of, doing it on a game-by-game basis of having consistency in your game.
Your penalty kill was perfect again against Tech, as it's been for 6 of your first 7 games, but you went 0 for 5 on the power play, despite creating a number of good chances. What's limiting your success with the man advantage so far?
Well, you know what, I think basically not finishing plays. Like, we're getting some looks now. I thought we had 4 or 5 grade A opportunities against Michigan Tech, and we just didn't finish those looks. And, that's a combination of us probably not bearing down and putting it in the back of net, but also, the other team defending well and goalies making a key save at a key time. Conversely, look at our penalty kill. It's doing very well, not only because we have good killers, but Adam Shield has been outstanding on it and being one of our best penalty killers. So again, it's a little bit of us not finishing plays on a power play and the other team's goaltender being very good, just like ours is.
You were without Gabe Bast for the 3rd game in a row Saturday, and we're missing Colton Pullman as well. You've said that Bast is out again this weekend and that Pullman is day-to-day. What do you miss when those 2 D-men are out of the lineup, and how do you overcome their absence?
Just predictability, right? I think it's the experience side of those guys being older veterans on always probably making the right play or making the right read in situations on the ice. And, even though they both were out of our lineup, which is a big hit against Michigan Tech, I thought other guys stepped up. Other guys came into the lineup, younger guys. Josh Rieger doing a great job coming in after not getting a lot of reps, did a good job. And, the guys that had to take the added role, Matt Kirstead, Andrew Pesky, JBD, those type of guys had to up their game and ante a little bit, and I thought they did.
We'll hope to see your captain back in action as the calendar turns to conference play this Friday. How much do you and this team look forward to the start of the NCHC campaign every year?
100%. We absolutely look forward to it, and it's kind of nice to have some non-conference games to get acclimated to everybody working together and being, conforming as a team and meshing and growing as a team together here. So, we're looking to the start of it, and one of the things we talked about is one of our goals is to get home ice advantage for the playoffs and being a top 4 team out of the 8-team conference here of garnering home ice, and that starts this weekend. It's one of those things where you have to make sure you take care of things in the first half and keep building for the second.
You host the Miami team that finished at the bottom of the league in 2019, but this is a new-look Redhawks squad led by first-year head coach Chris Bergeron. What do you know about Chris, and what should we expect from his group?
Yeah, Chris is a really good coach that came through the Bowling Green organization, and he did a really good job of building their program at Bowling Green. They had a lot of good recruits, and I know him taking over the program here in Miami, he'll do a good job there of putting his stamp on it. But they've got some returning players that we have to be aware of. Their forward group is very fast and skilled, and their D are big and heavy, and we got to make sure that we play our game to the capabilities that we need to get the result we want. But again, it's going to be a very competitive weekend this weekend at the Ralph.
Yeah, well, we're excited for this series. We know you are too, Brad. Thanks again for the time. Best of luck against the Redhawks this weekend. Brad Berry. Time now for a break, but when we come back, we'll introduce you to a former Spud who's making some noise in his first year in Grand Forks. Hear from UND freshman defenseman Ethan Frisch next here on North Dakota Hockey Central. Back. Because North Dakota's 2019 D-Corps was already filled with so many established contributors, this year's recruiting class had just 1 defenseman in it, Moorhead's Ethan Frisch. The hard-hitting puck mover is the latest to be featured in our Meet the Newcomers series. Here's a little more now about Ethan in his own words.
All right. Hi, my name's Ethan Frisch. I'm from Moorhead, Minnesota, and I play for the University of North Dakota. I was very fortunate to grow up in Moore, Minnesota. Also a program, much like UND, that has a rich history of hockey players being successful growing up. Obviously the Cullens, Brian Lee, who also played here, Chris Van Velde, being able to watch them grow up and then just have a program that helps you learn to love the game. It's pretty special. There was a principal that was a potato farmer, and at lunchtime he had released students to go pick his potatoes. And I'm not sure if that's true or if that's just the legend, but we get a lot of crap from other teams for our nicknames sometimes. They say mashed potatoes, all this stuff. But yeah, we take pride in being a Spud. My uncle played for St. Cloud State University, played with Matt Cullen growing up. My dad plays just a couple years older than him, and my two aunts on my dad's side are both professional figure skating coaches, so it was something that kind of came natural for me, skating by the time I was 2, so it was something that was definitely just going to happen for me over time. Well, no, I was pretty sure I was going to play hockey. Once I knew I liked to hit people, I decided it wasn't going to be figure skating, so. My dad. Growing up, he's always been my biggest mentor, and I wouldn't say we play the same style game. He led more in penalty minutes. He has the all-time record in penalty minutes. He's kind of just a big guy. I didn't get his height, unfortunately. Maybe still working on it, we'll see. But yeah, definitely my dad, him pushing me every day, not necessarily just from knowing hockey, but knowing how to be successful in anything. I knew I wanted to stay somewhat close. At least either in the state or in the Midwest. So obviously when the opportunity arose to come to the University of North Dakota, it was a pretty easy decision for me after seeing the facilities and knowing the coaches and how down to earth they were. It was pretty easy, and then having it just an hour away is something really special for me and my family. When I'm not playing hockey, I'm usually either hanging out with the boys or hunting or fishing on the weekends. I was in Bonnyville, Alberta with Shane and company. We went ice fishing and was reeling up a walleye. We could see it coming up, and all of a sudden it got just eaten by a muskie. And we were like, what are we gonna do? We just have this little hole drilled. How are we gonna get it out? I ended up sticking my hand under the ice, grabbing it, pulling it out, and biggest fish I've ever caught. It was probably 50-something inch muskie. We didn't have a tape measure. We weren't expecting to catch a trophy like that. Oh yeah, God, it was big. It was big. Where do I start? I'm bad at lying or making excuses, as we found out yesterday. Gosh, the list goes on and on. I don't know if you'd be able to. I wouldn't make it to class if I just listed off everything. So hold it there. Hi, my name's Ethan Frisch. I'm from Moore, Minnesota, and I play for the University of North Dakota.
Quite the character. Well, with UND's recent injuries on the blue line, Frisch has been logging bigger minutes in recent weeks and is featured on the penalty kill as well. He's more than held his own in that new expanded role. That's a great sign of things to come. Ethan and the gang will close out a 5-game homestand this weekend against Oxford, Ohio's finest. We'll preview UND's first NCHC series of the season when North Dakota Hockey Central returns. Let's wrap around the national college hockey scene now, starting with a look at the latest USCHO.com poll. Denver retains top spot for the 4th week running after staying perfect on the year with a pair of home wins against Niagara, but there's a new number 2 behind them. UMass, last year's national runner-up, leapfrogs Minnesota State after the Mavs split this past weekend with Bowling Green. The big mover of the week, though, is Penn State, who jumps 6 spots after sweeping then number 7 Wisconsin. The Badgers, meanwhile, drop 5 places, while Quinnipiac falls 6 spots after being swept in Tempe by Arizona State. And then there's UND, who is quietly in the top 10 for the first time this year. Meanwhile, NCHC play officially began this past weekend with Western Michigan taking 5 of a possible 6 points in Springs over Colorado College. Game 1 between those two was a 6-3 Broncos win, with Western winning a shootout after a 4-4 tie the following night. 4 more teams will open their conference season this weekend, with the big one going down on the shores of Lake Superior. Number 7 Minnesota Duluth was off this past week, but the Bulldogs swept Minnesota in a home-and-home the week previous. They'll try to dent the Pioneers' unblemished record in the battle of the last 2 national title winners. Elsewhere, Omaha, who's ranked for the first time this season, will host Wisconsin, while now unranked St. Cloud State will try to get back on track at number 16 Northern Michigan. Then there's UND and Miami. This weekend marks the Redhawks' first trip to Grand Forks since November of 2017, as the two met on just one occasion last year, a split in Oxford nearly exactly 1 year ago. As you can imagine, each side knows the importance of starting NCHC play on the right note, and neither will want to let this opportunity go to waste.
Well, we feel like we have one of the best conferences in college hockey. Any team can beat anyone on any given night. Going into conference games now, we know that we have to start off well, and we're chasing that Penrose, so we're going to be looking for it right from the start.
North Dakota and Miami live from Ralph Engelstad Arena. If you can't make it in person, join us here on MidcoSN for Game 1 at 7:30 p.m. Friday, followed by Game 2 at 7 on Saturday. 6 big NCHC points on the line in Grand Forks. That's all we've got for this edition of North Dakota Hockey Central. On behalf of everyone here at MidcoSN, I'm Alex Heinert. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the Ralph this weekend.